So the first question you want to ask yourself is how consistent have I actually been with my Spanish learning? Because I know there's a lot of people that will be like, oh, yeah, I've been learning Spanish for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or whatever it is. But if they actually analyze the input that they've been putting into Spanish learning, I'm not talking about like input in terms of like comprehensible input and watching content. I'm just talking about the actual act of doing whatever you're doing to learn Spanish. How consistently have you been doing that for? Or how consistently have you been doing that? The truth is, if you're really honest with yourself, most people, the answer is not very consistent. It's more of like a sporadic thing here and there when it's convenient or sometimes in the background, which is more than like, it's a good starting point. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely what I'd recommend rather than doing nothing. But if you're in a position whereby you've been learning Spanish for an extended period of time and you're still not reaching that level of fluency that you feel like would correspond with the amount of effort that you've put in, the first thing to ask yourself is, okay, genuinely, is this something that I do consistently every single day? That's the first easy win that you can give yourself. Just finding a way to do the thing consistently for a long enough period of time so that the idea that you don't reach some sort of fluency or at least some sort of confidence when it comes to conversation in Spanish would be unreasonable. And without even thinking about it too much, that's what I did personally. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name's Jonathan. I started learning Spanish back in February 2021 through like immersion and comprehensible input. I actually set myself the goal that I wanted to be conversationally fluent by November that year because I wanted to do a trip to Spain and just speak to people in Spanish. And I actually accomplished it and I documented on my story. So this is when I went to Madrid, had an excellent time then. I also went to Barcelona and yeah, really good times to be fair. And then, yeah, since then I've done a few interviews in Spanish, just explaining the process that I went through. So this is the interview that I did with Mike Ben, and this is also the interview that I did with Pablo from Dream in Spanish. Biggest shout out to those guys. But I realized that, you know what, like, although this is a hobby and I get it, like a lot of us decide to learn Spanish because it's more of something that would be it's something that would be cool. Like, oh yeah, if I could speak Spanish, that would be cool. I know some people do it for an actual like, okay, I need to learn this for my job. I need to learn this practically because I have clients or I have people, I have family that I need to speak to. But for a lot of us, it's more of like, okay, great, this would be cool. This would be something that would be excellent if I could speak Spanish. And it's probably some sort of self-development or self growth type of outlook or outlets as well. But you reach a point where it's like, okay, that's great. But for us to actually reach that level of progress, we have to start taking AA a little bit more seriously. And that doesn't mean you have to start spending like endless, countless hours either studying or doing your input. And by the way, we haven't even got to the actual way of studying Spanish because right now I'm just talking about whatever you're doing. How consistent are you with it? And if you're not as consistent as you think, as you know you could be, if there's been days where you know you haven't really actually done what you should have done, there's times where you feel like, I don't really feel like doing it, and you actually don't do it. The next question is like, why? And how can you get to the point whereby, regardless of how you're feeling, um, regardless of the ups and downs of lives, you still get it done. And you know what? There's actually two things that I would recommend in particular to help with this. I noticed that when I look at the areas that I've been most consistent at in my own personal life, one of the big areas is fitness. And the funny thing is, I'm not actually, or at least when I started my fitness journey, I wasn't the type of person that enjoyed going to the gym at all. And to be honest, I'd still say today, like, I'm not really the biggest fan of going to the gym, but I go very consistently. And one of the biggest reasons why I do so is because I have a system of accountability. I have a PT who also happens to be a friend, and we go as a group of three every morning, well, 5 to 6 times a week. Now, what does that have to do with learning Spanish? If you can create some sort of accountability system, right, whether you have an actual teacher, whether you're part of a little group, whether it's something you're doing with friends, whether it's something that um, you've told someone specifically, okay, I'm going to do this. I mean, we always hear about this idea of accountability, but I think what makes it actually powerful are two things, which you might want to do or you might not want to do. But number one is when you have accountability with someone that actually has the results that you're looking for in that specific field. So it's one thing for me to tell my mum that, okay, yeah, I'm going to learn Spanish, like hold me accountable. That's great as a starting point. But the truth is, she doesn't have the results I'm looking for, like that level of respect in the field of learning Spanish. I don't have that towards her. So it's way easier to break the promise towards her. And so if you can find someone that actually has the results that you're looking for and you can get them to hold you accountable, someone that you know that, okay, just literally like a PT, someone that you know that, okay, they have the results I want. If I can get myself in a system whereby this person is holding me accountable to what I know I need to be doing consistently, especially on the days where I don't want to do it, you will find you will be way more consistent long term. That's the first thing. The second thing, which is what I personally like to do whenever there's a field in my life that I really want to be consistent with, is I pay something. Right. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, wow, no, pay. But the truth is, yeah, when money's on the line, you've made an investment and you add the accountability from somebody that actually knows what they're talking about and has the results that you're looking for. Which, again, a good example of this is the times when I have a PT, I get in shape. There was a period in my life where after having a PT, where I was like, you know what, no, I don't actually need a PT. And I'm not saying you have to have a PT forever, but I just found in my personal case, I fell off pretty quickly. Now, the truth is, if I didn't have a PT right now, would I fall off? Probably not now. I like to think no, but I'm also not really willing to take that experiment. It's just not worth the risk. Like I prefer to set up a system of accountability whereby I'm in close proximity on an almost, if not daily basis with someone who has the results I'm looking for, has the results I'm looking for, and they're holding me accountable to doing the things that I know I need to do. And ideally, if I have something on the line, if I'm paying something, I find that that is one of the simplest, most duplicatable way, even outside of learning Spanish, to stay consistent. And if you can stay consistent, the fluency is just a matter of time. Now, bear in mind, fluency is this moving target. You might have like a specific goal, whether it's like B1, B2, C1, or it might be I just want to be able to go to Spain and have a conversation, or it might be I just want to be able to read a book or watch the news. The truth is, like, and this is another thing that we have to bear in mind. You once you get to that point, more levels will unlock themselves, and so there is never really a day where you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, wow, I'm fluent now. It doesn't really work like that. But the point is, if you're in a position where you know that, okay, I haven't really been progressing at the rate that I could have been progressing at, and you know that you haven't been as consistent as you could have been, this is where you start. Now, let's say you don't want to do that, but you still want to improve your consistency. Or what other things can you do? Another trick that I feel like not that many people actually implement, which is kind of interesting for me, and it's just using a calendar. Use a calendar. Now, I know a lot of people are fairly resistant to this idea of using a calendar. One, because they feel like it restricts their flexibility within the day, or two, they find that they don't follow it, which happens to all of us because I think even being able to follow a calendar is a skill that you have to develop. So once you make your first calendar, don't expect you're just going to follow it to a T because it doesn't really work like that. But what I would recommend is even if you don't use a calendar for everything, you can just put a time slot in your calendar for Spanish. Right. So let's say you had an hour slot every day. Okay. And ideally, if you can make it around the same time every day, that's even a bonus. That's a big bonus. But let's say you have an hour slot every day and you set that up on like a Google Calendar and you have the Google Calendar app on your phone and you have notifications on so that whenever that hour's coming up, you get a notification. If you really want to take it to the next level, you can even set your phone as like a focus mode for that hour so that during that hour, you don't get any other notifications and there's no other distractions. If you can just create an hour, even if it's just an hour, by the way, because I was listening to one quote the other day and I thought it was very interesting. It says consistency beats intensity. So it's better to do like an hour consistently or even 30 minutes consistently over a long period of time than do like 6 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, 1 hour, nothing, 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 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 6 hours. Like if you just consistently do an hour, the compound effect will start to kick in. And I do believe that one of the best ways to just start to consistently do a thing is just put it in your calendar. I don't have the stats, but I'm pretty sure if just by putting something in the calendar, you're way more likely to do it. Especially if you then share that calendar with an accountability type of setting that I mentioned before, with someone who actually has the results that you're looking for, then that the possibility that you actually complete it then skyrockets. Now, with all of that being said, the truth is there's still going to be times, even though you have accountability, even though you're maybe paying for a service, even though you have in your calendar, there's still going to be times where it's like, oh, I can't be asked. For example, this morning I woke up and I could not be asked to go to the gym. And then I even looked out the window. It was raining. It was dark. My body was aching. And all of the reasons why I shouldn't go to the gym that made logical sense in the moment were coming to me. Like that part of my brain was playing the best game of chess against me and I was losing. Like all of the pawns were dying. However, what I realized, here's what I realized. And this the same thing applies to like language learning. As much as language learning is a hobby, it's fun. And it's probably one of the best personal development or skill set things like personal skills that you can learn because you can literally, and there's not many skills or productive things that you can do where you can literally go on Netflix, watch movies and be like, yeah, that was productive. That was a productive 2 hours. I just watched Netflix for 2 hours and that was productive. That only really happens in language learning and maybe like a few other fields as well. But that is nuts. Now, despite all of that, there will be days where you can't be asked. Like there's going to be days where it's just like, you know what? I'm not really feeling that. I'd rather just watch something in English or I'd rather do something else. And it is true that, okay, like there is the ability to vary up things because you do want to actually prioritize enjoyment when it comes down to language learning because that will help the new words and the new phrases to stick more in your mind. However, there does come a time and it does come a place where you just need to get it done. And what happens is, and what I noticed this morning, is that you don't really need to focus about the full workout. You don't really need to focus on, okay, I'm going to go to the gym today and I'm going to have to do this workout. It's going to be hard. And then the time, and then I'm going to get back late and then I'll go work or wherever it is. The mechanism is you just focus on the next thing. So for example, in my case, I just focus on, all right, just get up. That's the first one. Okay, I got up now. Now, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I was up and I went. I think I sat down for a little bit. Okay. The next thing was, okay, I just had to get changed. Okay, get changed. Then I get changed. Okay. The next one is get in the car. Just get in the car. All right, cool. I get in the car. All right, next one, just drive. Before I know it, I'm at the gym and my PT's there. My friend was there. Big shout out to Sean. Okay, great. So now I'm with Sean. The funny thing is, we did a workout today. And that workout was incredibly long. And when I say long, in terms of difficult. And I had to use the same process again within the workout. We were doing like basically like this circuit, right? We're doing like a running, we're doing rowing, skiing. It was like a high rocks workout. And we were planning to do, just to simplify it, we were planning to do 8 rounds of this kind of cardio workout, high intense cardio workout. And literally within the first round, I was like, this is incredibly long. I could not be asked. However, I was like, do you know what? Just do this one part of the round. Just do this round. And then it's like, all right, calm. Just do the start of this next round. And then before I knew it, we finished the whole thing. Now, if I didn't do it, and this is why I'm going to come straight back to Spanish. I'm going back. I'm weaving back to where I was. If I didn't do the workout, or if we quit early, or if we were like, yeah, do you know what, we worked out hard last week and it's fine because I'll do an extra workout tomorrow or wherever it is. If we didn't do the workout, what would have happened is we would have been building the habit of telling ourselves it's okay to not do the thing that we know we should do. Now, the truth is, if we didn't do the workout or if we finished halfway, practically speaking, it would have been okay. Like it would have had a big difference now. But over time, when you carry on doing that, that is the difference, metaphorically speaking, between you reaching the fluency in a year and you reaching the fluency in 3 years. And then you add on to that the fact that now you're building the habit. You're now building the habit of making it easier for yourself to not do the thing that you know you should do. And on top of that, you're building the self identity of somebody that doesn't do what they know they should do. This makes it incredibly hard. It makes it incredibly hard for you to actually build the momentum that's needed to reach fluency, whatever fluency means for you. So yes, we can put in accountability systems. Yes, we can put in like okay, we're going to pay this person, whatever it is, cool. Or we can use the calendar. At some point, that's going to fail and it's going to come down to your mental games. And the question is, do we have the ability to just do the first thing? Like just do the next thing. So if it's like Spanish, okay, just start watching the video. Just start watching the video or just start doing the input. Or even if you're doing like grammar exercises, which I probably wouldn't recommend, just start doing the exercise. And you'll notice that as you're doing it, the feeling of why you wanted to start learning Spanish and like why you want to be fluent in the first place and the motivation will start to come back, especially as time starts to flow. Like even this video in itself, I'd like, honestly, like I'd rather be sleeping right now. However, let me just look right now. I've been speaking for almost 20 minutes. And the feeling of, oh yeah, this is why I was making these videos because I'm growing the channel. I'm giving advice on like how to learn Spanish. It's starting to come back now. And I'm now back into the flow, if that makes sense. And it just happens again and again and again. It's just how you combat it. It's just what systems you have in place physically and mentally to stay consistent. And by the way, this is probably the biggest one. Probably the biggest one in terms of why you're not fluent. It's probably because you haven't been as consistent as you think for a long enough period. Simple. Now, outside of that, so that's the first side. Now we can look at actually studying Spanish in itself. Let's say you're actually like genuinely have been consistent. Over the last 4 years, I've done 3 hours a day. Like I've tracked everything. Fantastic. Great. Then we have to look at, okay, your input. Because I believe like the biggest part of this is going to come down to what Spanish input are you getting? Number one is the duration, but number two is the quality. It's kind of like, there's that phrase that says, okay, you are what you eat. It's kind of the same in Spanish. It's like your Spanish fluency is kind of like, it is what you've eaten of Spanish. So if I'm to actually translate that to how it actually works, it's like you've got a bank of subconscious knowledge that is built up by spending time receiving input. And what will happen is, when it comes to speaking fluently, that can only happen if your bank account of subconscious knowledge is big enough. Right. Now, we then do need to practice the ability to actually say the sounds, to actually pull the right information at the right times, which we'll get to. But for the most part, it's like, okay, genuinely, like practically speaking, how deep is that knowledge, bro? Like how the bank of subconscious knowledge that you have, how deep that, like how much resources do you have there? Okay. So what I would then look at, let's say you're consistent now. We've handled that. Excellent. The next question is, how much time practically are you spending receiving input? And then what is the quality of the input? And by the way, I'm not talking about how comprehensible is it. It's not necessarily that. It's the type of input that you're getting. How close is it to the type of Spanish that you want to be outputting? How strategic is it now? Now, I do understand as well that there are times where you just want to prioritize enjoyment, and that's great. Like it is true. You can just find content, especially in Spanish. There's so much content in Spanish that you will be able to find high quality content that's also enjoyable. But right now, I just want to focus on this idea of strategic input. And what I mean by that is there does have to be a level of reassessing where am I at right now and what is the best type of input for me to be doing for me to get past the plateau that I'm at. Now, when you first start, you can pretty much do anything. Okay, you can pretty much do anything. And I'll give you an example of my own personal case. So, for example, you can pretty much do anything at the start. You'll get input, you'll pick up new words, excellent. But then you reach a point whereby, like, with the initial type of input that you're doing, you've squeezed out all of the gains, hypothetically speaking. The truth is you haven't, but in terms of the timeline that we're looking at, because the truth is we're probably a bit impatient, all of us. Like we're not really looking to wait 20 years or 10 years for it to see the fruits of the work. So within the timeline, and let's say it's like a 1, 2, 3 year timeline, if you just carry on doing that thing, you've got to at least a very high upper echelon, or like you've reached a point where the returns are diminishing. You're still improving, but it's like the curve is almost so flat that it's going to take you so many hours to get to the next level. And so then we can look at, okay, what is the next step with the type of input? Now I can still, for example, if I'm just watching videos for language learners, the next step is to watch more native content. But the question is now, how do I make it so that that content is still more enjoyable for myself? And two, based on this whole comprehensible input idea, can I make it so that it's a little bit more comprehensive for me? And the time that I spend receiving input is more, let's say, efficient, rather than it just being me spending time and not really getting much back from it. Now, what I personally did was I actually mixed it. So I'd watch, for example, Dreaming Spanish. I watched video that's for people that are learning Spanish. I watched that. I'd watch series and I'd flick back and forth. I'd do crosstalk. I speak to people. And a lot of that, oh, sorry, apologies, guys. My camera's not out focus. Wait for it to come back. Okay, we're back now. So, and a lot of that, guys, is a lot of that was what I did naturally. We're just thinking about, okay, what's enjoyable for me. I never really had to strategically sit down and be like, okay, no, I actually need to do more of this. But if you take where I'm at now, that kind of ad hoc, okay, I watch some of this, I watch these videos, I watch these streamers, I watch this series. I've reached a point now where the marginal return of that is so low that now it takes me sitting down and being intentional about, okay, I need to read these novels. I need to kind of cater towards this type of vocabulary. I know that I struggle with repeating words and not saying things clearly. And I'm not even getting onto the speaking yet, but how can I address that within the type of input that I'm receiving? Can I be a little bit more, can I be a little bit more diligent rather than just relying on vibes? Can I be a little bit more structured? And I'm mainly speaking to people that are learning through immersion and comprehensible input because that's what I did. I know there's some of you that are sitting down doing grammar studies and like learning with a tutor or a teacher. And fair enough, I just don't have experience on that. So I can't really teach you too much when it comes to that. But what I can say is that even if you are learning with a teacher, even if you're learning, doing grammar studies or wherever it is, if you can be consistent and be strategic with the input that you get alongside that, you will start to pick up the subconscious knowledge way quicker. And that will help you to become more fluent for sure. Okay. Now, when it comes to output, this is also something that you can start to be more, you can start to be more, I think the word is, I guess, diligent, but it's more so intentional. The word is intentional, is you can be intentional with the output that you're doing. So for the long time, you might just be able to have conversations here and there, have conversations with friends. And by the way, that's what I did for the bulk part of my Spanish learning. And I was able to get to a point where I was very conversational. I can go to Spain, have conversations, no problems. But the thing is, if you're in a position where you've been doing that consistently and it's still not, you're still not unlocking the results that you want, then we just have to look at, okay, how can we supplement this? And whenever we're supplementing things, we do it for a purpose. So for example, if I'm a bodybuilder and I'm going to the gym, I'm dieting, but I want to take supplements, I'm taking those supplements for a specific purpose, right? So for example, if I'm speaking to friends and I'm speaking to I don't know, whoever it is in Spanish, and I'm getting natural output, but I'm still not at that level where I feel like I'm fluent enough, then okay, great. I can carry on doing that. That's fine. I enjoy that. But it would make sense for me to find, okay, can I supplement this? Can I do specific exercises? Like I made a video recently about how I'm practicing Spanish with AI, where I do like a 5 minute video of me speaking about a random topic, getting AI to pull where I'm specifically struggling, create some sort of Anki deck based on the improvements that I need, and then focus on those. Can I do, okay, like just a video of me documenting every week, me speaking about the same topic and seeing how week by week I can bring in new vocab, I can bring in new words, I can compare it to last week and see if I'm actually improving. Can I do yeah, like something similar where okay, great, I'm shadowing. And this isn't even something that I've done that much of. But could I potentially, if I'm trying to work on my accent or try and work on sounding a bit more native, like could I do 5-10 minutes of shadowing a day and just get myself used to that flow of the language and how natives speak? Could I do that? Of course you can. And these are all things that you can consider once you have the foundation of consistency, because the consistency without that it's just not going to work regardless. But once you have the consistency and you're focused on the input and you also focus on the output, like the fluency will come. But just bear in mind that once it does come, the goal is going to expand and you're going to want the next thing, right? So that's my 2 cents for today. By the way, if you are learning Spanish and you feel like you've reached some sort of plateau and you'd like for me to help you to be more consistent, you'd like for me to help you to optimize your input, your immersion schedule, your routine, and also work on the output side of things as well so you can hit your goals when it comes to fluency and learning Spanish. You've got the link in the description for my private community, and I will see you in the next video.